Alright, let's talk about controller files. If you've noticed, our route file is starting to get messy. For example, when we wanted to display this view, we had to pass some data. So what if we had to fetch that data from the database or from an API right here before actually displaying this view? We are going to have a lot of lines of code right here, which is going to be really messy. Therefore, according to the MVC pattern, we will generally have a controller, and this controller is going to handle the business logic behind the scenes, and all the router does is point to that controller and the controller will take it from there. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to use an Adonis command, and if you want to see a list of all the commands, again, run help, and you can see that we have a make controller command right here that says make a new HTTP or WebSocket channel controller. So in this case, we are handling HTTP requests, so that's what we're going to do. So Adonis make controller, and the name of this controller is going to be to-dos controller. So it's going to ask us if we want HTTP or WebSocket, which is HTTP, and now we have a to-do controller file. And if I command click into that file, you see it's in a controllers directory, HTTP, and then to-do controller.js. And just like you would imagine, it's just an ES6 class, right? Just a bare class. Now, in this class, we can define functions, and rather than having these functions right here, we're just going to tell the router to point to the functions that we define right here. Okay, so for example, for this endpoint, I'm going to cut out this logic, and I'm going to remove this anonymous function, and I'm going to pass in a string instead. So we're going to say to do controller, and we're going to say dot profile, which means go to the to do controller, and then use the profile function to handle this request. Okay, so if we go there, this is gonna actually break, right? Because we don't have a profile function. Let's just try a refresh right there, and we have an error from Adonis that says undefined method, right? So we have to create that method. So if you say profile and we paste in the code that we got from there, this is not really going to work out because we need the view, right? And again, like I said, here we can also get the context because the router is going to point to this function and Adonis automatically is going to execute it and inject the context in here. So we can get the view from the context and then render everything like it was before. So if we refresh right now, well, we have exactly the same thing. But right now our routes file looks a little cleaner, and I think it makes more sense when your application begins to scale.